Welcome, Elaine Fresch from Hawkins, Parnell in Los Angeles, California.
Yes,
Welcome to our show.
thank you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into the industry and horse law, as we were talking about earlier?
Okay. Well, I kind of randomly got into the industry, the legal industry, just because I didn't know what to do after with a graduation from university looming. So I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
And then someone said, do litigation. And then here I am, kind of a long time after, but I'll just admit to maybe 2 decades.
Okay. So you started when you were 12.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I started at one firm. I was at one firm my entire life until we as a partnership decided to split. So I joined Hawkins Parnell at the beginning of 2023.
Okay.
It's an Atlanta-based national firm.
Okay.
And we are just a litigation firm of trial attorneys, essentially. That is our focus. And we pretty much practice across the board. I fell into the construction world, which is my main focus, because no one back when I started practicing really understood what to do with construction cases. There's always a contract. So I was like I was considered, the business litigation department.
Yeah.
So I got assigned construction cases. I did one of the first big trials as a very young lawyer, that went 6 months. And then from there, I just focused on construction.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, I've ridden all my life, and I had gotten back into horses after being a lawyer so I could afford horses.
Right.
And I discovered that there are claims about horses, people falling off of horses, horses getting injured. And I focused on that as my secondary practice, if you will.
Okay.
And equine lawyers are a very small niche in the country.
Yeah.
And across the globe, if you will, too.
Right.
Because I know lawyers like in Europe, and it's a very small network, but it's a fun network and it's my passion. I still compete. I still have horses.
Right.
I'm very active in our industry. I'm a jumper rider. So I'm on the, I don't know if I'm speaking too much. I'm chair of the Owners Task Force for the United States Hunter Jumper Association.
Oh, wow.
I also co-chair the American Bar Association's Equine Law Subcommittee, which is part of the Animal Law Committee.
Okay.
So, and yeah, that's my true passion. But I also do a lot of products, and I kind of just expanded over the years because it just seems, I feel that's the way the industry's gone. You can't just have one practice. You have to be ready for economic downturns in an industry such as construction or real estate. So I just kind of globalized, and I'm kind of a litigator.
Yeah, diversify yourself. So equine law, I mean, that's fascinating. I remember as a young adjuster, this is going back no more than 2 decades, but same thing. I started when I was 12. It was a case up in
grade school together.
Probably, I think so. I think it was Michigan, Ohio. It was one of the two. I had a claim, and it was a racehorse. I'll just put quotes around the racehorse. It had won $300 at the Toledo Derby.
Okay.
So this, to the family, was a racehorse. So how's a case like that? Like, how does that play out in today's world? I mean, back then I know we just denied the claim, and I forget what the rationale was, but I think it was liability. I don't know. Horse was in the way, in the road, shouldn't have been there. But today, so similar thing happens out in California. Horse is in the road, gets hit, racehorse. How does that all play out? Like, what is that type of claim worth?
Ooh, well, horses are racehorse, depending on their record, with respect to their wins and losses on the track, and their breeding and their potential for their breeding, as well as their ability to breed.
Okay.
And potentially either as a mare or a stallion, as to whether they can produce offspring. And that's a very lucrative area of the horse world, like for a thoroughbred, or potentially for Arabians race, quarter horses race, the standardbreds harness horses
Okay,
race. So there's a variety of racing. So let's just say this is the thoroughbred.
okay,
And for whatever unfortunate reason it gets out on the road, technically, those cases are dicey because the law is against you as the horse owner or the property owner where the horse is located because a driver is not anticipating there will be a loose horse on the road.
right,
So the driver's kind of the innocent person on the road. I mean, it's just in a weird way, it's no different than a deer running out. And they're usually very serious accidents.
oh, yeah,
The animal usually dies, the horse dies, the deer dies, the cow dies. And then it comes down to there can be very severe injuries to the driver or a passenger.
oh, sure,
So a lot of it turns on the damages, but liability there, depending on the facts, because sometimes horses get out and you have no idea how they got out. I've had cases where the horse had to have been Houdini because the stall was closed, it was latched. So how did the horse get out of the stall? And then how did the horse then get out of the property when it looked like all the gates and the fence was high enough that it would, unless it was really miraculous and it jumped really high, but the gates were all shut and latched.
Right.
So how did the horse get out?
yeah,
And they do, and I don't know why. And I had a horse personally that would get out of his stall no matter what, and we could never figure it out. And we would be at showgrounds, and like one time we were at Del Mar racetrack, and like thankfully, someone who was staying on the grounds in an RV saw my horse going up the ramp, which would have led to the street,
right,
and called my trainer and goes, "I think I see your horse." I'm like, so we don't know how he got out of the stall.
right.
We never will know how he got out of the stall.
So-
But they do. They're tricky animals. They're very smart animals.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I have that same problem with my dog. I don't know,
Right.
I don't know how my dog gets out. And we seem to have done everything, but he still doesn't. And
Yeah.
obviously horses are much smarter than dogs, I would
Yes.
think. So, yeah, that's fascinating stuff. So now going on to construction, I mean, I'm sure you see your share of fascinating claims. I was talking to someone on another episode. We were talking about, it was New York City and construction claims in the few areas of the city where there's actually no cameras.
Oh, okay.
And apparently that's a thing, is you find the places where there's no cameras and that's where you happen to have your claim. So do you find, I mean, I know there's some very serious construction claims, but do you find that there's a propensity for fraud in some of those?
Well, I mean, there's always that propensity, like across the board, just unfortunate. I would say the majority of my claims that I focus on are really the defect claims.
Okay,
So, which is someone is claiming there's poor construction that led to their roof leaking or
Okay.
led to, a high-rise development having inadequate heating and air or, leaks from the mechanical system. They
okay,
can run the gamut.
Yeah.
Or, soils problem, like hosts, but you can also have construction accidents where someone is hurt on
right,
site. I think New York might be unique about what you were just saying about the camera and stuff. So it's not to say, as a lawyer, and who typically is hired either directly by the construction company or by the carrier who
Okay.
is insuring whatever contractor it is. You are aware, and I can't say throughout my life, I've never had something where I went, this is a very questionable claim. I've
Right.
had some claims that I thought were very unmeritorious. I
right,
wouldn't go as far to say fraud,
okay,
but I would say that they were exaggerating their claims, or there really was no quote unquote, what we would consider a defect. I
okay,
mean, that
gotcha.
does happen. Sometimes there are merits.
Yeah.
Each case is different, but you kind of have to view it all over.
Right.
Like, for what it is, and you try to figure out with your client what's the best defenses, and did someone make a mistake? Mistakes can happen too,
Sure,
but a lot of it, does just come down because the average construction case typically doesn't try because they're so costly, they're so complex.
yeah.
with all the subcontractors involved, design professionals.
Right.
So it goes on and on.
And the cost of the experts that you'd have to bring in.
Yes,
I mean,
those experts. Yeah.
yeah. So, handling claims, I started my career out in Los Angeles. And no shortage of crazy stories. You got to have a crazy story or two. Anything you could share with us?
Okay, let me think. I didn't come prepared for this.
Oh,
Like the
it's okay.
crazy story. Let me think about what, I mean, in a weird way, they're all crazy stories.
I mean,
Um,
we found a body in a trunk once.
okay, I've not had
Not
any
that, but
bodies
you
in
wouldn't
a
find that in a
trunk.
construction.
Yeah,
This was
yeah.
an auto claim, and it was an impound, and I think it was a LAPD, I think, impound lot. Wondering how no one found it before us, but
Yeah. I mean, I haven't found any dead bodies in concrete,
so Jimmy Hoff is still missing. Is that yeah.
Do Nevada. So
Actually, so you probably have some pretty crazy Nevada stories.
yeah, yeah, Nevada, it's a different
Different environment.
yeah.
And some of it probably not PG rated. We don't want to
Right.
talk about it here on the air.
No, but I did have a case there that actually is successful. It wasn't a construction case, but the plaintiffs in that case were so angry after we won, and it was affirmed by the Nevada Supreme Court, that she went to TikTok and started maligning me and my client.
Whoa.
And I was just talking about this last night and at dinner, and that like not even a year ago, it's like all of a sudden on TikTok she stopped, and I think TikTok might have stopped her.
Okay.
Which is, I didn't know they would stop people, but literally I would get a post like constantly that no, she just could not give it up and just continued to like say completely bald-faced lies about me and the client and like how we handled the defense. It was, yeah.
Wow.
So that is my most crazy story of all time.
I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Getting stalked on TikTok.
Yeah.
Probably violating the community standards. Getting
So,
kicked off the platform. I mean, that.
yeah. And we had surveillance. We were able to use surveillance of the plaintiff showing that the injuries that essentially were completely exaggerated because we showed the individual, because we got surveillance of him walking and being normal and did not have a TB, a traumatic brain injury, as he was claiming, and he was being helped in the court. And all this stuff he'd be assisted in every day. And then we were able to show the tape. And that was very fortunate. So surveillance can come in handy.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, and it seems like, TBIs seem to be becoming more and more common.
Yeah, it's almost like every case now.
Yeah.
They almost like anyone who's even, if I like went like this, it seems like all of a sudden you have a TBI.
Yeah,
I say that I'm a jaded defense attorney.
It used to be like, I mean, I'll use Michigan as an example because Michigan had a very, very strict tort threshold for their no fault, and a TBI, other than dying, right, death or losing a limb.
Yeah.
Other than those, TBI was really the only way to get past the threshold. So they had a disproportionate amount of everybody had brain damage. Right. I mean, it was crazy. It was only 2 or 3%. But it was enough to breach the threshold. But now it seems like it's becoming more of a national phenomenon.
Yeah, it really, it seems like almost 90%, maybe not 90, let's say 80% of the cases that come in that relate to personal injury.
Yeah,
there is a claim of TBI, whether they ever lost consciousness or not. Yeah, and a lot of it, I'm not going to we'll be bored if we get into medical details of it, but it is the prevalent way is to claim, I mean, not to say there's not some, I'm not going to say no one has a legitimate claim, but it is compared to like 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, it is now this kind of like standard. Like we always oh, TBI. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to learn more about your firm, what would they do? Where would they go?
Where would they go? Let me think.
Wikipedia?
Yeah. I would say
TikTok. Yes. There you go.
Yeah, don't TikTok. Don't look me up on TikTok. I shouldn't have brought that up. But that is the most crazy thing
Yeah.
that because I never was on TikTok. I'd go on TikTok because I found out that
Right.
she was on TikTok about, and I was like, what? So if you want to learn more about the firm, I would go to the website, which is hpylaw.com
Okay.
or Hawkins, Parnell and Young. And I guess that's where you could contact us. Or I don't know.
HPY.com.
Yeah, I mean, I would say hpy.com. So that would be the easiest.
Awesome. No, that's great. So Elaine, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you.
And if anyone in the audience wants to apply to be a guest, head on over to subroiq.com and hit the podcast button.